Hey,
Hey everybody, we're back.
good day. Since it's dead center, middle of the day, whatever time zone you're in. It's Thursday. It's noon.
It's caucus time.
We're your hosts, Ryan and Mason. We got a lot of stuff going on. We were just commenting on a lot of things. If we really should somehow record and put some sort of premium on the off-air conversation because it goes between the spicy and the super mundane, like back and forth.
Yep.
One moment we're talking about community standards and bad-mouthing Meta. The next moment, I've never seen that shirt. Like we just,
It's a new shirt. I think it looks good.
It is. I have
looks-
lots of new shirts.
Were you wearing that earlier today?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I have been dressed this way
I
the
did
whole
not
day.
notice your new shirt until just now.
Well, I'm glad. It's kind of a yellow color, so it's
Yeah.
really easy to miss. No, I did. I lucked into an infusion of a bunch of new shirts.
Yep.
Actually, thank you to my family. My mom saved a bunch of stuff from my grandpa, who just passed away a couple years ago, and he was a classic man. He had slacks and dress shirts his whole life. That was his normal casual attire. But he pressed and, starched everything. So there were a bunch of shirts that got left over, and it was finally like, well, here, I'm like, I have like 4, and I rotate them, and I have to look at caucus videos every week and see what I wore last week. So now it's like, oh my gosh, we're the same size. This is fantastic. So there's my shout out. Thank you, Mom, for saving stuff, and thank you, Grandpa, for being the same size as me, because now I have a whole bunch of new shirts. I get to throw you off every week now. I'm going to spread them. I have worn a new shirt every day this week.
You have?
Yes.
Wow.
We're men. We don't pay attention to these things.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure I've worn this shirt on caucus more than any other shirt, and it's not on purpose. It just happens.
Someone fact check that. Go back and look. You never know.
Community notes fact check.
Speaking of community notes, thank you for being here. Glad that you're here with us. Again, it's Thursday at noon, so we're on the live stream now. The podcast and the notes are going to release tomorrow. We've kind of been rolling into a little bit of a new schedule, just as we're trying to tackle all the different things. Obviously, thank you last week for bearing with us while we just took a week off. We were kind of in the middle of. Hopefully you saw our selfie.
It was not a week off, trust us.
No, there was no week off for our work. It was just we didn't get to do caucus. It would have been cool to do it on site, but we didn't quite have approval for that. There were lots of security sweeps happening by the Secret Service because President Trump was on property, and he didn't actually stop into our event proper, but anyone who wanted to, got to stay his press conference out front in Bedminster, to prove a point, because Kamala Harris can't do a press conference.
Yep.
He went and just swung for the fences 90 minutes with a few notes in front of him and no teleprompter.
Yeah.
But we can get into that.
He
So a lot of
just
our
kept
folks
going.
got to meet him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fantastic. But it was not feasible to hit an episode last week. However, we want to recap Eagle Council, obviously the the undemocratic National Confusion. This is my new name for it, the UNDC, or the UDNC. This is the new name. We're going to recap a few things this week that need to be discussed and then dive into a couple of more. There's a lot of huge, consequential political things shaping up, because I know sometimes we like to go historical, sometimes philosophical. This year, we've got some political history that's, I think, going to be made this election cycle.
Yes. And
it's
the biggest deal in politics in the last week, Mike Lindell shaved his mustache.
Oh my gosh, he did. And there were plants in the DNC everywhere. O'Keefe was there.
Yeah.
Lindell was
They're all
there.
sneaking around.
Matt Walsh was there.
Posobiec got caught instantly though. He was trying to be slick.
Of course, Posobiec was running around out in the rioters, out in the crowd, I should say, the rioters. He was there during the day, so it was actually mostly peaceful. It's at night when it gets dicey. But he was interviewing people, found all the communists, found the Kamala supporters, found the paid Hamas protesters kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting dynamic. We'll jump in and cover all that. Let me remind you, should we do our ad first? Let's do our ad first. First, go to unauthorizedcaucus.com. Like, share, subscribe wherever you are on our social medias. We have X and Meta, although Facebook is trying to kill us now. They removed the post about the live notification, and then when I contested that we hadn't broken any community guidelines about spam, my post was never there, but they removed the community guidelines strike immediately. I have no idea what's going on. Go to unauthorizedcaucus.com, sign up for the Substack there. That's the way you're going to keep in touch with us. Meta's not trustworthy, and Elon's only, X is only trustworthy while Elon is there, and hopefully that doesn't change anytime soon. But most importantly of all, you need to go to our sponsor and say thank you, trexinc.com. You're going to get all the cool swag there. I kept meaning to. I've just forgotten since we've gotten back. I need to get my Keep Trump Vance Weird 2024 T-shirt.
You got that one?
I'm going to.
Oh,
I need to order it. I'll order it today because I keep
Caucus
forgetting.
30.
Caucus30. Use the promo code. You get the biggest discount they have. The biggest discount they have. And it'll let them know that you came from us. Say thank you for supporting the Unauthorized Caucus podcast. We appreciate their sponsorship so very much. Plus, we appreciate all the cool swag and gear. I got my my coffee mug right here. They are wonderful people, wonderful products. TRexInc.com. Thank you guys for supporting the channel, and go get some cool stuff.
Yeah.
We got 88. How many days? 83.
I don't know.
How many days till it's like 80? We have 80-something days, or maybe we've ticked under 80 now.
You didn't tell me about the time frame. So
the last week is gone in my brain. I don't know. But we are getting close to Election Day, and you've got just a little bit of time left to not only pull out your cool swag for Trump, but to get people.
Oh, you're talking about till the election?
Till the election, yes.
Oh, I thought this was like whatever. Election Day, yeah. That is about 80 days away.
It's 80 days away, yeah. So thanks for being on with us. Go to all those places. Make sure you do it all. The links are down in the description below us. Or if you're listening to the podcast later, go over to unauthorizedcaucus.com or the show notes. You'll be able to click on those important links there. So, yeah, let's dive in. Should we recap council first, or should we talk about the insanity in Chicago this week?
Well, council is first sequentially,
It's
so
true.
I imagine that we should start with what came first in time.
We are nothing if not sequential, always.
Exactly.
Totally logical.
It's kind of a part of human existence, and it kind of has to be sequential.
I agree. Timeline, linear history, man. I'm here for it.
It's not about agreeing, it's just a fact.
All right, fine, fact man. Tell
Facts.
us about Eagle Council.
The facts of Eagle Council. It was awesome.
It was awesome.
It was great. We were at Trump's Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. It was beautiful. The grounds were stunning. We had a lot of great speakers. Who did we have the first night? We covered some pretty important stuff the first night.
We did, actually.
The first night was Phyllis Schlafly's 100th birthday gala, which was incredible. Some of the Schlafly boys talked a little bit. Bruce wasn't keen to talk very much, but John and Andy had lots to say. And this is all online now, right?
It's going to be. We got the videos today from our videographer.
This will all be online soon. So if what I'm talking about is interesting to you, then stay tuned.
Right.
Over on the Phyllis Schlafly Eagles YouTube page.
There's definitely an entire experience was had last week. I mean, from the venue setting to meeting people and getting the network in the room, fantastic. However, a piece of it, just a piece of it, the program, we can actually bring some of that to you, and I'll have a video of, I think, almost everything. I have to review it. We literally just got it from the videographer, and the photos and everything. So those will be going up on the website today, tomorrow, into Saturday. I'll be working to get all these things up. And then, of course, we'll continue to clip and repurpose it as we move forward. But a lot of really neat things happened. Celebrated Phyllis Schlafly's 100th birthday. Like you said, John and Andy and Bruce Schlafly were there. Kimberly Fletcher.
Yeah. She gave a touching remarks on the influence Phyllis Schlafly had on her life and career. That was awesome to hear.
And there are a lot of people who know Moms for America or follow them, but probably don't realize the impact that Phyllis Schlafly had on Kimberly Fletcher, who she admitted I'd never heard of her, but someone, one of her family members, I think
it was
said,
her mom.
You got to talk to Phyllis Schlafly. They got on the phone, they started talking and getting to know each other, and then somewhere in there we got to meet her, and they launched Moms for America. Actually, I think their first DC press conference. It was either their first or one of their first DC press conference events before they have the giant marches now with huge events. The live tour with Tucker Carlson this year.
Yeah.
Their first one was in the Phyllis Schlafly Center in DC.
Yeah.
We still have some cool stuff from that. So that was neat. Marilyn Shannon, of course, a long time. She's the chairman of the board now of our organization, but longtime friend of Phyllis Schlafly was there. And very specially, we got to meet and celebrate Miss Rennie Liebner, Lucille Rennie Liebner. She was there. She was 100. She is 100 years old, about to turn 101. Is just a little bit older than Phyllis would have been now, but she knew Phyllis Schlafly personally, not just in passing. She was one of Phyllis's close friends and confidants. Phyllis stayed at her house in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. Rennie was at the original Eagle Council in 1968. Before Eagle Council was even the name, she was there at the Gathering of Eagles in St. Louis, 1968. And then I think she was also part of the committee, official or unofficial, that helped decide the Eagle Council name for later, the naming committee. So Rennie, she was awesome, sharp as the tack. And of course, she got to stick around and meet President Trump at the end of our second day at his press conference. Got her hat signed. It was, you may have seen
awesome.
the videos. The 100-year-old supporter getting an autograph. That was her.
Yep.
It was one of our Eagles. So that was really
very
neat.
own Eagles.
But celebrating Phyllis. I mean, we heard from Mike Lindell, Dr. John Eastman, Jeff Clark, Will Scharf. We had a lot of discussion
I don't think
about
I told you this. This was really funny.
Weaponization, but that was celebrating Phyllis was a highlight.
It was during that period where we were. Those speeches were going on, and Will Scharf leans over to me and he's like, "I'm going to bring the thunder when I get up there." And I was like, "You do it." And then he did. He did. Yeah, it was a good one.
I tell you what, Will Scharf is the real deal. He really is. Like, he's kind of been off the radar, but he is pretty awesome. And I look forward. He almost was our Missouri Attorney General here, but it's not made to be. Didn't win the primary, although he gave a good run to the appointed incumbent, Andrew Bailey, our current Attorney General, who's likely, hopefully, to win a first official term. He was appointed, but Will Scharf is pretty awesome. Gave him an Eagle Award. He spoke. He's really, really neat. A very stand-up guy, literally standing up next to Trump in the most unpopular of circumstances.
Yep.
Really sharp. The whole day was like that. And then also, by the way, we heard from Cynthia Hughes as well, founder of the Patriot Freedom Project. She was in and out of a lot of the program because she helped us greatly. They've done a lot of their Patriot Freedom Project events there at Trump Bedminster. If you're not familiar with them, patriotfreedomproject.com. This is a nonprofit that has supported all of the January 6th, mostly the families, but they've also gotten into helping with legal fees as well, because a lot of these folks, I mean, this is the primary breadwinner who went to prison for 3 years, has been tied up in litigation. Not only has this affected their family, feeding their kids and getting the bills paid, it's affected the fact that a lot of them can't just afford the best legal teams. You're kind of stuck. And some of the public defenders early on were atrocious. They were just as corrupt as the D.C. court system. So Patriot Freedom Project has done fantastic work and given all the money. It's really been pretty good, or pretty awesome what they've been able to do, and we were happy to have her partner with us as well. But yes, Thursday, what were some highlights for you? We had a big election panel. Mike Crispy came in. We weren't sure he was going to make it because he wasn't feeling well. He managed to get there. Mike Crispy, Mike Lindell, Sharona Bishop, Karen Taylor was up there from Pennsylvania, one of our affiliates. Kathy Barnett, the name you know from Pennsylvania, she ran for Senate out there and gave Dr. Oz, and I forget what's the other guy's name. There was the big two. She gave him a run for their money and got almost a third of the vote and scared everyone half to death with no money. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then Tiffany Justice, a lot of Moms for Liberty. They did a child abuse in the classroom, 40th anniversary of Phyllis Schlafly's book, Child Abuse in the Classroom. They had John Schlafly up there. Did a couple panels on weaponization of government, specifically January 6th. And then we had a couple foreigners. Yeah, we had two of our
Tarzinski.
Yeah, Dominic Tarzinski and Michael Rashon, two big Polish superstars in the pro-family conservative movement came over. Those is just a short list, but both days were just awesome. Totally awesome.
Yeah.
What was a highlight from you on Thursday?
On Thursday, well, like in the event, because come on, the highlight for me was probably
standing in the heat listening to Donald Trump for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, you sycophant. Come back to the program. No, I'm kidding. Come back to the program though. Yeah. What about the program stood out to you?
Yeah, I thought the panel with Kathy Barnett, Mike Lindell, and one of Lindell's people with his organization, his frank speech, that's the election integrity panel, I thought was fantastic because those are. A lot of that stuff is kind of boring, like talking about all the ways we're going to cast votes and how to deal with that. We got to make sure all the procedures are just right on all these state levels. And, oh, well, this counts as hand counting paper ballots, but this seems like it, but it's not actually,
Right.
But all that stuff is very important to know. And what I thought was interesting is how Lindell talked about how they're going to have this thing on frank speech where you can live report election fraud if you see it at polling places, when you're going to vote in November. So important stuff to know. Or if you get like 2 ballots or something, report that. Because people need to know about these things. If you just walk off, nobody finds out, and then we don't, fix these issues with our elections. And there's a lot of issues with our elections.
Yeah. And what I love about it, which the Lindell, we all know frank speech, but the Lindell plan is a whole separate thing that I don't think a lot of people necessarily understand. And by the way, this is Lindell Offense Fund. After all these people who have defense funds, defensive funds, the Lindell Offense Fund. If you go there, lindelloffensefund.org, you can see what they're talking about. There's a plan to secure our elections. Now, here's the thing. Can I be completely honest? And I mean, no offense. If any of our Mike Lindell folks are listening, here's what it is. I know there's a plan they have to secure elections 2024. They have the Election Crime Bureau where you can get in the anti-steal dossier. There's really cool stuff. Let me say this. I think that the Lindell folks in that world get a bad rap a lot of times from what I would call not so much the super right-wing grassroots conservatives. And I think we see some of the effects of that here in Missouri. At least I've been seeing some of that throughout our primary process. But with some of the more established folks, and I'm not talking about rhinos, terrible liberals who just run around with a Republican, emblem behind their name. From some of the more established folks who haven't quite gone maybe full red pill, even though they are Trump supporters and they understand that election integrity is important. I think that a lot of times they get kind of weary of, Mike Lindell and his crowds. We got to fix it, and it was stolen, and we have absolute proof. And then a lot of people feel like they overpromise and then underdeliver on facts. And I look at it and say, yeah, but they're going after people who don't want to be caught and found.
Right.
So it's a moving target that they're going after. But can I just say, thank you, Mike Lindell and crew, Lindell Offense Fund, the whole thing with the Lindell plan, for giving actual action items that people can go and do. And it involves good old-fashioned normal stuff. Poll watching, transparency efforts. I mean, this is not new information. They've just repackaged it in this, as only Mike Lindell, the fantastic entrepreneur and salesman can do. They've repackaged this whole thing into the My Election Kit. Like, that's what it is. He's turned it into My Election Kit. It's fantastic, though. And I understand a lot of people's kind of frustration because it's so single-minded and single-focused, but also if we lose the ability to have a say-so in our representative process, the electoral process, it is kind of all over. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate, like you said, get down to brass tacks and actually tell what you can do. Go to the website and find your place in this movement. It's very Phyllisy. It really is, because she was always that way. Not just talk about it, go and do it, and then make it simple and give people the action.
Yeah. Well, do we want to talk about the DNC?
What else? Do you want to talk about the DNC? Well, let me say before...
The election, or did your highlight? What's your highlight?
The highlight, let me say, I also thought the celebration of Phyllis was wonderful. Hearing from a bunch of different folks was great. But I got to say, the weaponization part of the panel, we had folks on there who, Martha Byrne was with us. Of course, Martha Byrne McMahon is her married name. Michael McMahon, her husband, was a former sergeant in the New York Police Department. He has been under investigation completely separate. This is not January 6th. This is a whole can of worms that you open about the FBI going after and basically scapegoating a bunch of individuals, private investigators at the time is what he was, for quote-unquote supposedly working on behalf of the Chinese government or foreign governments. And you realize, there's a lot of guys who did research and they just got hired and then it got pulled in over here. They had no idea that it was going to be used by some foreign government to try to come and capture. This is his case specifically.
Right.
But now the FBI is like, uh-oh, shoot, we were asleep on the watch. So that guy's fault. Blame him.
Right.
And they're getting thrown under the bus by the DOJ. Just like the J6ers, just like people now who are standing outside pro-life, doing pro-life work on the sidewalks outside abortion clinic, Mark Houck.
Yeah.
The weaponization of government against its own citizens has now gone so far beyond January 6, 2021. And I think that issue is a big winner with people as they start to understand the scope of this. And by the way, I meant to say, so Michael McMahon's one of the private investigators. Martha Byrne McMahon, his wife, she's a famous soap opera star. And then Pat Sizer is a cop. Sharona Bishop she goes under America's Mom. She's one of the Lindell folks. Tom Kenneth, Nicholas Smith were there. They're two of the attorneys that are working on this. Tom Kenneth is actually the attorney for, was it Michael Penny, the Marine, who put a chokehold on a guy in a New York City subway to save the passengers from this deranged dude. And now he's being punished and prosecuted.
Right.
This extends so far. Doing the right thing, standing up for the right thing, or just being in the wrong place at the wrong time in Michael McMahon's case and getting just railroaded.
Right.
This weaponization is rippling so far out and touching people who are way outside the right-wing political world, who are looking at it going, this is no good.
Yeah.
And it is purely political power that is doing this. I thought that hearing from all of those voices together was so neat, because this is an issue that transcends all the traditional right-wing, left-wing stuff, all the usual political issues we talk about. This one is it's not new because we've been working toward it for a while, but it really is a brand new on the scene the way that we're talking about it now. And I think it's a big tent issue because, I mean, like Elon Musk with advertisers, this is all stuff where they're like, oh, fine, I guess I am right wing.
Yeah.
And it's you people who are radical, not me.
Right.
And we're getting a lot of folks who see it's like, I'll take it because you're going to make a freedom vote in November. Doesn't mean you have to agree with me on everything. As long as you make a freedom vote in November, moving the right direction, we can work together. It's very interesting to see all these things swirling. We got a big glimpse of that at council. I thought it was neat.
Yeah.
So there you go. These things sound cool to you. A lot of these program, or at least the clips of the program. Again, I'm sorry you didn't get to come and do all the stuff in between. I know some people couldn't make it. Some people just weren't able to from the get-go. But we're going to have the programs up over at the Phyllis Schlafly Eagles Rumble. And then YouTube and everything else. YouTube as long as it lasts. But go to the Phyllis Schlafly Eagles Rumble. Probably be a giant full video first, and then it'll come and get broken down into the individual segments and some other clips as we find them. We'll just keep repurposing the material and let it ride because we got a lot of good stuff that just should get shared and shared and shared before November 5. So that's a big one that'll be over there.
Yeah. So the undemocratic national confusion that's going on right now.
Undemocratic.
This is the next step in the story of our this bizarro election cycle. And I was talking to Ryan about this morning that like weird is not a good word to describe a lot of these things I'm seeing because we're all tired of that word by this point. Uncanny, I think, is much more precise to describe what's going on right now. First and foremost, as we were discussing this morning, the Democratic platform for this year. I could not believe it. I just straight up could not believe it because Ryan walks into the office and I'm looking at this platform right now and he says like, do a word search for Biden. It's like they like forgot that this platform was, talking about his, what Biden's going to do in a second term because there's all this stuff like Biden will continue to do this. Biden has done this and will continue to do this. And I can pull up some examples.
I mean, literally, there's Chapter 8 is advancing the current president's unity agenda. I mean, whole section headings literally refer to Biden is and will be the president. It's the whole thing was obviously written
from beginning to end.
Yeah.
This is like every single page of the entire thing. So it's, I guess they figured nobody would read it. I guess.
Well, here, where was it? So here, the preamble, page 2, the preamble. President Biden, Vice President Harris, and Democrats are running to finish the job. Joe Biden's not running for anything.
Yep.
Like this was obviously written pre-coup against Joe Biden, and no one had the wherewithal to want to come back. No one, maybe they thought we were just too stupid and wouldn't read it and don't really care, which I hate to admit that's actually probably not completely incorrect. No one raises kerfuffles about the platform like we do on the right. But it's wild. It's wild how much
even then we got over it,
Well, and that's the thing. I've got these two pulled up next to each other for us to be able to just kind of discuss. First of all, the Republican platform, 28 pages long. And that includes the beautiful cover page and the beautiful end page, all the ones that don't have content. Just 28 pages long. The Democrat platform is 92. I can see the argument for shortening and streamlining and just making it clear because you're on page 3 and you found the 20 promises we're making to America. And they are clear. Yeah, the Democrat one talks about border stuff, but it claims a bunch of things that have nothing to do with any policies of the Biden-Harris administration.
Right.
And then it makes a bunch of promises that are wild and completely against everything that they're saying and doing now.
Yep.
But you come over here to, promise number 1 on the GOP platform, seal the border, stop the migrant invasion. And on the Democrat platform, it's this giant confusing, we have to keep working against fentanyl and to do this. And in spite of Republicans hampering us in Congress, we need to do this and this and this and secure the border. And it kind of says it quietly a few places, but it's just copying Trump's homework. That's essentially what it's done.
Yeah. So, okay, this is also bizarre. So the LGBTQI plus in the table of contents, only the L is capitalized, but isn't that like an acronym? Well, it's not an acronym because you don't say it out loud, but in things like that, they're all supposed to be capitalized, right?
I've never seen it not capitalized like this.
Yeah, that seems like a bizarre proofing error. With
proofing involves standards.
Yes, but what this makes me think is like how AI chatbots like ChatGPT You know, they don't always have the most up-to-date data because they got to like train the new model. Like they give it a bunch of information, and then they release that model once they're done testing it. So it's not going to tell you anything that happened today. I mean, at least that's how it's been in the past. I don't know if it works like that now. But this seems like they were like, write a platform for the Democratic Party, and it did not know that Biden had dropped out, and it thought Biden and Harris were running. Well, it's like, okay, here's 90 pages of what Biden's going to do.
Their LGBTQI plus section, every time it's mentioned there in the subheading and in the text, it's all capitals.
Okay, yeah, so
like
I'm
you would
not
expect,
crazy.
but it's not at the table of contents.
Yep.
It's whatever it is. First of all, this is so long. Second of all, it's convoluted. Third of all, it is obviously out of date, and just proves the hectic timeline behind the scenes. This really does solidify for me that there is chaos going on, organizationally speaking, behind the Democratic Party facade. Now, does that chaos actually turn into them losing votes or not? That's a whole separate conversation. But it just is chaotic to watch them put up Joe Biden at the early debate, and then the tumble to get him out of the race from there, and then this thing to get put up. This whole convention was put around Joe Biden being the nominee, and then suddenly he's not. So suddenly the convention was shifted, and then Joe Biden was put on Monday night and thrown out the door. I mean, how insulting was that to go last on Monday night? I mean, the last is the big position, but Monday night and an hour behind.
That was the
weird. Start his speech until 11:30
It was
Eastern.
so late. I think it was. No, they were supposed to be wrapped up by 11. Yeah, so it was late. I went to bed. I didn't even watch the whole thing. He did well though compared to his debate performance. At least in the first half I watched. He didn't seem to be his.
He was pretty hyped up, and then he lost it, and then he kind of came back around at the end. But I mean, if he can't perform, it is at this point a pretty established fact that they have not scheduled anything for him at the White House outside of the hours of 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. That is the only window he's got that he's coherent and able to do stuff. To do this at 11:30 at night, they're not trying to show up. Like this really just was the obligatory.
It was the 6'7" body double. That's what it was.
The 6'7" body double. Well, this was the obligatory. Everyone chant for Joe and then get out, old man. We're done with you.
Yeah.
Like it was. I don't know.
Right. They gotta acknowledge him, but
it really is. It was very insulting. It was very insulting. But I mean, they've moved on. They have no use for him anymore. They've moved on.
I don't remember much. I don't really remember any instances from the RNC of like big left-wing, influencer content creator people going in there and like talking to people and messing around and like trolling and getting content there. I don't remember that happening. Like Harry Sisson didn't go to the RNC. Did he? I don't think he did.
I don't think so.
I don't think the Krasensteins went to the RNC, but now we got all these big conservative pundits that are all sneaking around, and it's the funniest stuff.
Some of them sneaking, some of them not sneaking.
Yep.
Jack Posobiec was just running around out there.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk was, not even pretending to be somebody else. No. But Mike Lindell's wearing a disguise. It's hilarious with the no mustache and the he's wearing sunglasses and a hat that makes it look like he's going to drink some pina coladas on the beach. But nope, he's going to the DNC. He asked Harry Sisson if he got his vasectomy yet, which was hilarious. Then there was Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh is probably the highlight of the DNC.
I saw Matt Walsh, which if you're not familiar, there's a new film coming out. If you were a What is a Woman fan, there's a new one called Am I Racist that's coming out. I cannot wait for it at the end of September. But and this is the first.
He doesn't know yet if he's racist or not.
I don't. Yeah. This is the first theatrical release, by the way, for the Daily Wire production. So that's pretty cool. That's a milestone for them as well. But yeah, Matt Walsh donned his get up as a wokester, and he had his little tweed jacket on and his man bun, wig with his glasses, and then he had his little, DNC hat and his Kamala T-shirt and everything ran around. I saw Matt Walsh on CNN in the background before the tweet started coming out that Matt Walsh was running around the DNC in disguise. I was watching the interview with Chuck Schumer, and in the background, I'm like, wait a minute, that's Matt Walsh. He's at the DNC. Yeah. So he was just trolling around. They were actually handing out postcards for Project 2025. See what they're lying to you about at project2025.com. And then it takes you to the actual Heritage Foundation website.
That is hilarious.
They put out hundreds of them. It was just, the left can't meme and the left really can't troll. Yeah. We are so much better.
Yeah.
The right is so much better at all of these things.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Because you see it with these, libtard, limp-wristed, 100-pound soaking wet fellas running around, like, confronting these people. And it's like there's no humor to any of it. Like, and they're just getting messed with and trolled. But these guys are like, well, Trump's a convicted felon. You know, it's just obnoxious, and these people are sick people. They're the theater kids from high school. Sorry to any former theater kids out there, but you know, we're talking about averages here. Like 95% of theater kids don't turn out so well. And
yet it's all the Republicans who are apparently really good at theater.
Yeah, well, no,
real theater.
No, we're good at humor.
Humor, that's true.
There's a big difference.
Well, and you know the thing about that is it actually proves so many points, and one of them, first of all, I see down here in the. By the way, I'm paying attention to the live chat. No, I am not shaving my beard. There's no chance. You don't want it. My wife doesn't want it. I don't want it. He knows.
I would quit my job.
He would quit his job. It's not going to happen, and you don't want it to. Anyone out there who says, "Oh, you shouldn't have facial hair," you're wrong. Some people should, and I do, and that's it.
He should.
I should. Thank you. I appreciate your support. But it teaches some valuable lessons. I see T-Rex Inc. is actually in here on the chat. Thanks to our sponsor. Shout out.
Shout out T-Rex Inc.
Shout out T-Rex Inc. But he's saying it's true. Conservative influencers are showing us it's time to go on offense. I agree with that.
Right.
But almost.
And it was Hillary that said, like, we have them on the run. And they're literally in the room with her.
They're literally in the room, on the run, around the room, getting people's. But did you see what's his name? Alex something, a guy from Austin who ran. No, not Alex Jones.
He's from Austin.
But there was a different Alex. His last name starts with an S. I didn't know about him before this week. He apparently ran for mayor in Austin or Houston a time or two. But he's a right winger. He was there in kind of disguise, like he'd shaved his beard. He had this little Rastafarian, knit cap on with his Harris T-shirt. But he actually got on. I think it was at the BBC.
He was the guy in the Rastafarian hat?
That's a right-wing troll.
Oh, my goodness.
Did you not even know that? See, that's the thing. One of the main clips that came out, this guy who's just so excited about it because Kamala Harris, we finally get a woman,
he was talking about
a woman of color.
How his wife has a...
yes, and he understands the minority issues now because of his wife's black boyfriend. And he's just saying all this nonsense stuff. And I think it was BBC or someone.
Alex Stranger.
That's right.
I found him.
They're just standing there nodding, and they keep asking him questions. And of course, I start seeing this get shared. The left is like, look at this guy's enthusiasm. The right says, look at these people's lunacy. And then it comes out. A lot of us who are looking at it going, this doesn't seem real. Sure enough, people said, that's Alex Stanger. I know him. He's a right-wing guy who ran for mayor in Austin, Texas several times.
That is awesome.
He's trolling them, and yet they don't know. It proves not only does it show us it's time to go on the offense, but really, these folks are celebrating the nonsensical. And they take it seriously. But it's complete nonsense. And I don't know if you've got anyone who's on the fence saying, oh, you guys are just being too harsh. I mean, it's a little different than you, like, more liberal policies or something like that, but you need to lay off. If you know anyone like that, these are the kinds of things saying, look, no, we literally go and make fun of it, and they don't know the difference. They are so lost and abandoned to nonsense. It's just pure emotionalism, pure identity politics.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing, and I noticed this about a year ago, is there are so many accounts on X, like libtard accounts, where you legitimately cannot tell if it's parody or not. You can't tell because some of them play the part so well, and it's a very easy part to play.
Yeah.
There are very few conservative accounts that are parodies of conservatives. I think that the only one that comes close is 3 Year Letterman, but I think he's kind of a self-parody. Like, he's doing it on purpose.
Well, and if you're not familiar, 3 Year Letterman, I guess that's his actual handle, right? His 3 Year Letterman. He goes by Coach. He's got a book that he self-published and put on Amazon. That guy though he says everything wrong, posts the pictures wrong, calls people by the wrong names, insists that he's a notary public and notary publics make the law. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But he draws in so many people, actually, in his case, both the left and the right, who get in and start participating.
Yeah.
And then some people, which I don't really like Nancy Mace that much. I don't think that she's that conservative. I have misgivings about her. I don't trust her yet. She knows what's up. So she buys his book, and she starts posting as if Coach is the greatest person in the world, and she plays along with it, and it's hilarious. But you also, this is one of the welcome to the right can meme and the left can't.
Yep.
But it does just, I think that the overall, not only showing it's time to go on offense and take the fight to these people, and humor and mocking them. I mean, I know that, biblically speaking, mocking is not something that we're necessarily, but it's just proving a point I think is what's happening here, and through humor and poking holes in the argument.
Well, mocking idols, denigrating.
I was about to say.
I think that's a respectable thing to do.
I would tend to agree with you. I would tend to agree with you. What it is, the subject of it makes it a different story entirely. But I think that there's great power in that, because for anyone left out there in the hinterlands of voters who is paying attention, I think that kind of stuff, first of all, the humor cuts through, and they actually see it, and they listen and pay attention more than just the boringness of both sides.
Yeah.
You know, traditional media, that really is how people are paying attention, who are unplugged largely from the system. It's humor stuff that's going to get their attention. But
yeah, I have mad respect for Alex Stranger. I could not pull this off without like just dying laughing.
He went straight through it. But it shows, it just lays bare, again, the insanity, the nonsensical nature of everything they're saying, the fact that it's pure identity politics. Like the man on the street interviews, they ask, what's your favorite? Did you see the gal going around the DNC hallways? What's your favorite of Kamala Harris's policies? And everyone, I mean, I can't even pick one. They don't know because there are none.
Yeah.
She's listed like, what, 6? And 4 of them are pure Marxism and no one knows about it.
And the other 2 are from Trump. Yeah.
No taxes on tips.
One came from Trump, and the child tax credit came from Vance.
So,
this is off topic, but the same MSNBC reporter, 4 days apart, wrote an article about why Vance's $5,000 child tax credit would not work. 4 days later, writes an article about how wonderful Harris's $6,000 child tax credit is. And so you cannot make this up. These people are completely deranged.
Yeah.
They completely we must win so we can deport all liberals to the moon. Prison labor camps on the moon.
Prison labor camps on the moon, and the conservatives all go to Mars with Elon. How does that work?
No, Elon will deport them to the moon.
Elon will deport them to the moon.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So it really is. I think that there's great value in this stuff that's happening, but what it shows is just purely that, I mean, for the modern left, for the modern mindless Marxist useful idiot, it is just pure identity politics. This is how I'm supposed to think. It's supposed to be inclusive. It's the whole DEI agenda wrapped up into this mob of people. And I mean, I'm not talking about the outsiders, the mob of people who are just like, woo, I'm so excited for this. Why? Because she's a woman. Well, why does that matter? Oh, because she's the first black woman. Well, why does that matter? What is she going to do for the nation? What's she going to do for you?
Right.
Even at a base selfish level. No one has any answers because they literally don't know that
she's gonna give me money to buy a house. That's pretty much it.
This is That's
like the only thing that they.
No, she's not. She's going to tax your unrealized capital gains.
That's insane.
Did you see those numbers?
I did.
Let me, and here's if you haven't seen it, because it kind of started sliding under. I've seen it talked about today. Let me pull up this document where I have the list. You want to know one of Kamala Harris's policy proposals? Let me see here. Where did it go? A new, what was it, 20 or 25% tax on unrealized gains.
That's insanity.
Now, I think there's discussion, and I need to check if this was maybe for only, there was someone who we only mean for people maybe making more than $1 million a year.
Yes, it is only for the 1%, but that's also how the income tax started.
Exactly. That's the thing, though. I tell, this is what I was telling people yesterday. So it started as, well, what they're saying is only for people making $1 million a year or more. Guess what?
Or it was like a certain amount of assets.
Correct.
Yeah.
When Democrats say, which anymore, you have a $250,000 house that may be worth over $1 million. Welcome to being one of the 1%. You didn't even know it, but the Democrats have inflated you too to that position. But that's the thing. That's a very slippery slope. They always say we're just doing this to the wealthy, not the middle class. Guess what? First of all, that ends up being a bald-faced lie a lot of the time, based on how the numbers work. Because the wealthy have
the resources to get around stuff like that.
Exactly. Well, and then second
the
of all,
middle class pays the price.
I know people love to bash trickle-down economics, but really, who do you think makes the world go round? People who spend money, people who hire other people, people who start companies. These are not people at our level and down economically that are doing this. That this is not who does the hiring and firing and the paying out of payroll in America.
Right.
So it will have an effect, even if it is just the wealthy, but it never usually is, to your point.
Yeah.
The income tax started as just something for the top people. But now look who all pays income tax. All of us, except the people just living off the government.
Yeah.
But here, this was one of the suggestions. A 25% tax on unrealized capital gains. Here's what that means. Mike Cernovich did a fantastic job breaking this down. If you own a house, subtract what you paid for it from the Zillow estimate, and then be prepared to pay 25% of that number, the difference, to the IRS, i.e., you paid $250,000 for a house. Zillow now says that it's worth $500,000. Fair market value, $500,000 minus your cost, there is a $250,000 capital gain unrealized right there. 25% of it is $62,500 you now owe the IRS for an unrealized capital gain. That's how that number works out into numbers that you and I know. Because, I mean, we probably have folks listening to this and watching this from all over the spectrum on the, economic scale. But for most just single family income or, regular families, $250,000 house used to be about normal. $300,000-$400,000 was nicer. Now those are $400,000 or $500,000 homes in a lot of areas. That's what that 25% means.
Oh, and once the first-time home buyer subsidies get in, that just shoots the prices up even more.
And this is oh my goodness, who was it who was talking about you want simple fixes? Was it Vance who was talking about stop BlackRock from buying homes?
I don't remember.
I saw somewhere, but it was conservatives are going after this correctly. Someone says, well, how do you affect home prices? What's something that you can actually do to bring that down instantly? And I think it was either Vance or it was someone else at the top levels.
Vivek.
No, it wasn't Vivek.
Well, because he's taken the fight to BlackRock.
He has. It was someone. It was someone around that world. One of the big pundits who said, "Yeah, you want to know what to do? You immediately ban any company that has over $1 billion in assets or revenue or whatever it was that they said. Ban them from buying single family homes.
Yeah.
Period.
And also deport all the illegals.
Deport all the illegals changes the housing market. Banning places like BlackRock and billion-dollar-plus industries from buying single-family homes to rent it back to you. If you get those people out of the single-family home marketplace, and you deport all of the illegals who are taking up so many of these residences, those two things entirely change the housing market and would automatically move us into a downward turn on housing prices. Because you want to talk about how inflation goes up. These are things that aren't even being talked about. We just always talk about inflation being the government printing more money and devaluing yours. No, the housing market and a lot of other areas specifically have people meddling in them that are big players, or the government doing it on behalf of illegal immigrants or whatever it is. Those things could be addressed now. The actual printing of money and too many dollars and everything, that's going to take a while to address. It could be, you could tackle it now, but there are things that could be done now that in one term actually could make major changes to the housing market. And if it doesn't happen and something like this gets in, a lot of people, because of inflation, find themselves to be millionaires that never were before, even though you didn't ever pay that and don't have that kind of money. And then all of a sudden, unrealized capital gains tax comes for you or the next layer down. This gets really out of hand really quick. But here are some specifics. Instead of just saying it, if you know someone who doesn't quite believe you, here's some specifics about what actually that looks like and then what we could do about it. I need to go and find that clip. I'll try to do that in a minute here and see who was talking about that, because it was fascinating to me. And yes, you're right. Vivek is going after BlackRock very, very full on.
Yeah. Well, it's his entire company is in direct competition with them. Yeah.
The right can meme. The left exists as a meme.
This is true. It's dead-on statement.
This is true. Yes. Thank you, Rumble Chat, for being fantastic as always.
This Friday, we are likely to thin the herd on the presidential race a little bit. RFK is likely to drop out and endorse our big man, DJT. God willing, that he will be. This was so funny last night, because I was talking to my father-in-law about this last night, and he was like, "Oh, he should appoint RFK to, the FDA or something." And I was like, "But what about the CIA?" And he goes, "Ooh," and I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be good."
Well, and there's maybe our last one. If you haven't heard it, I was reading, and you just broke the news, right? The RFK.
No, I wasn't talking about that at all.
You weren't talking about that at all? I'm totally honest. I missed the name that you just said. You said CIA, and I'm trying to backtrack because I was reading a section of stuff here. What did you just say?
Let's talk about Evan McMullen.
Evan McMullen, that's right.
No, I'm messing with you. I did talk about RFK.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked about the RFK endorsing Trump thing. That's so.
Don't mess with me. I literally was I'm trying
I know you're reading, but I was
people here.
I was seeing how focused you were on that and how much of what I was saying got through to you, and I was able to say, no, I wasn't talking about RFK.
I saw the words Nancy Mace, Tim Scott, and Seb Gorka, and I was locked in to try to figure out what the world's going on
here.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I've got the clip from RFK today. Did you see that?
No.
Okay, let's talk about. So
you want to put the clip on?
Yeah. Long story short. Well, as we kind of figured.
Tomorrow's Friday.
Right,
so
tomorrow's Friday. But I mean, earlier this week, Nicole Shanahan, the very progressive VP choice of Kennedy on the independent ticket, she floats on a podcast that, well, if we're not going to get over 5% and actually radically change American politics to have a third party access on the ballot, then we either just we keep running and let the Harris-Walz campaign get in, or we drop out and partner, I think she said partner with the Trump campaign to ensure that that doesn't happen and Kamala Harris does not get in as president of the United States. And that just kind of set the world ablaze. And then sure enough, the next day, it's announced that RFK Jr. is addressing the nation at 10 a.m. Central Time tomorrow, 10 a.m. Central, 11 Eastern, from Phoenix, Arizona. Well, Donald Trump has a Phoenix, Arizona rally tomorrow. That's coincidental, except there are no coincidences. You heard it here. And then...
Is Phoenix in Mountain Time?
I think they are, but I'm not sure. I forget where the lines go once you get down to the Southwest. But then, of course, Donald Trump truthed, if they dropped out and endorsed me, I would absolutely consider RFK for cabinet position. Goes full art of the deal. It was pretty neat. But then
even Jill Stein is saying, I don't think we can let Kamala get into office.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, whether you're looking at it from a pure-on, I hate the Marxists and I have my own issue and I'm a liberal, but not that bad, or you're just looking at it from the competency level, of which there's none between the two of them. I don't know how many brain cells there are between the two nominees at the top of the ticket together. It's pretty. I mean, we're in wild times. The fact that they're putting forward, but let's be reminded, and this is why I think if RFK drops out and endorses Trump tomorrow, or partners with him, whatever wording they choose, essentially supports Trump, I think that's what's going to happen. It looks like that's what's going to happen because that's been the wild speculation spinning in the media, and no one from RFK land has said no, that's not what we said.
Who is in RFK land?
RFK. Nicole Shanahan.
Is that it, though?
I actually know. I mean, there's a Missouri director.
Really?
But yeah, I think I'm aware of a Missouri director, but honestly, I don't know anyone.
Joe Rogan, he's in RFK land.
No, Joe Rogan just likes RFK personally. Stop repeating fake news.
I thought Joe Rogan said he wanted to vote for him.
No, he said I like him the most.
Oh.
He actually had to cut. Did you see that? Rogan had to come back and clarify.
No, I didn't see that.
A clip went out about him saying, "Yeah, I like RFK." Blah 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 blah. Well, I think he said something about like the most. But if you go back and see the context of that interview, he was just saying, "I like him the most of everyone talking to him. He's clear. He's this." But it wasn't an electoral statement.
Trump needs to go on Rogan.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Trump's been doing a lot of.
He did Theo Vaughn yesterday. Or 2 days ago.
I've just almost finished that interview. It's really good.
It is a good interview.
I mean, Theo Vaughn
is
very
candid and personal too, which was like Kamala could not do that.
That's the thing.
Like she could not do policy. She could especially not talk about like personal because it's like who cares? And it's probably terrible anyway. You know.
But the humanizing of Trump is fantastic through some of these interviews. For people who don't know anything about him, but what MSNBC just foams at the mouth about, you watch him and go, "Oh my gosh, he knows people. He talks to people." He's talking to all these famous streamers and different things, and he's personable.
Right, and
he knows stuff.
He's talking about what he learned from his brother. Like I thought that was a big focus of the conversation. I thought it was really good.
It really was. It's even for someone who likes him, it's very eye-opening to me to see just normal Trump turned off. Like I've turned off the persona of giving a speech, which is definitely there for all of us.
Yeah.
But you turn off that persona and just go for it. It was really good. But here, what I think the RFK thing means is big news. Not because he commands some huge percentage of the potential vote here in November, but because of who has done the most to keep him out of the way, keep him out of the electoral process. We got a video. Let me pull this up.
I thought it went really well. I mean, I shouldn't be here right now. The DNC is in Chicago talking about their commitment to voting rights, and meanwhile, they're spending, tens, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars to keep me off the ballot. I was raised in the Democratic Party. My father, Robert Kennedy, my uncle John Kennedy, at a time when the primary thrust of the Democratic Party in that era was to make sure that every American could vote. There were people in our country who were being denied the right to vote, and that every American could vote for the person they wanted. There's 1 million people in this country who signed petitions trying to get me on the ballot. 145,000 at least people here in New York State who say they want to see me on the ballot. Why is the Democratic Party trying to disenfranchise those people? What's happened to the party? I don't think my father would recognize this party, and I don't think my uncle would recognize this party.
So, there you go.
Wow.
The Democrat Party has done this to me. I don't think my uncle, I don't think my father would recognize this party. It's very interesting to me. But by the way, this tells me what he's going to do is support Trump tomorrow, because this is today. This was at, let me pull this up for it here. This was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at, I'm trying to think. He was out at a courthouse. Again, they've been fighting to get on the ballot in several different states, which is a different set of hurdles for a third-party candidate. But the DNC, the Democrat National Convention,
Gary Johnson had this much trouble.
No, Gary Johnson didn't. The DNC has spent millions of dollars to keep him off the ballot, which, first of all, is what told me that if he's on the ballot, RFK represents more of a threat to Democrat votes getting siphoned off than to Republican votes. But if he comes out swinging like this and talks about the corruption of the Democrat Party, and Trump embraces him into the fold of come and vote for the Freedom Party, we'll call it the Republican Party or not, the Freedom Party, who does not condone this kind of, this deep state, administrative state corruption and tyranny, this could crack open a lot of middle ground votes who may not have considered Trump before. Any of the old school Democrats who who were just going to sit it out, they might not just sit out. This is one of those events that could actually turn a few people the other way. When I say a few, I mean it could be a lot. This is one more thing that could really contribute to a Trump landslide, which I already think is coming. Absent fraud, it's absolutely what we have in November. A Trump landslide, the likes of which we've only seen a couple of times in the last 100 years.
I think
fraud,
he could win New York.
Without fraud, I think it's possible. I think it's very possible he could win places like New York. With fraud, I still think that electorally, I don't think Kamala has a chance at this point. But
then the question is, are they just going to shamelessly go for it?
Well, that's the thing. They already kind of have once. And now they're even more desperate.
But can you do the same tactic twice? Can
Maybe.
you sell the story twice? I don't know. We'll see. But I think that Trump, Vance, RFK, and Elon that's like the ultimate team for destroying the deep state.
It really could be. It really could be. And it's a very big band of unlikelies. I mean, I wouldn't have, like I said, I don't trust Elon Musk as a conservative, but at this point, he's so deeply invested into protecting speech and fighting censorship. I actually kind of have to believe it at this point. It looks pretty legit.
Well,
too many things.
What I trust about Elon Musk is that he wants to put people on Mars, and so all of his decision making is what's going to lead to that. And he knows that if the left gets in and just, I mean, because it's the growth of the bureaucratic state that has destroyed the space program that put people on the moon. So if the left tanks our economy even more, hurts tech even more, I trust that he is sincere in his goals, even though they're not the same as my goals. But the path to his goals and the path to my goals is mostly the same, especially from where we are now.
And that's the thing, is that he's, to your point, I think that he is singularly focused on what he wants to accomplish. I mean, it's not even a selfish thing. It's just he's fixated on, I want to get this done, I want to get this done, I want to get this done. He doesn't bow to this narrative machine, because the narrative machine who tells you, well, this is your goal. Pfft, screw you. I want this to be my goal. I really do feel like even if he's not conservative, his personality does not lean itself into complying with what he's told to do, because this is the common collective thing and you all have to fall in line. If anything, he doesn't fall in line.
Oh yeah, he's the most non-compliant person ever.
I mean, look at an RFK too. He's a wild liberal on a bunch of stuff, but on a couple of key points, big pharma, medical industry, and deep state, especially the intelligence agencies, he doesn't fall in line. He won't fall in line. Foreign policy, he will not fall in line. It's a very interesting coalition that's being built. I think this is the landslide 2024 coalition. And I don't think I'm just being overly hopeful. I actually see that as a path.
And when we get in, we got our work cut out for us, because we need to change things significantly.
And this is where Entree, hopefully the campaign just tried to separate themselves from 2025, but they're open to ideas like Project 2025, which in and of itself was just essentially, of course, it's a white paper from a bunch of DC people, so you take that with a grain of salt. But they're talking about fundamentally changing the executive branch, reforming it and getting it back to a constitutional role, like hacking entire departments out, changing this, stopping that. That's the kind of thing we need. Whether it's Project 2025 or something else, I don't care. But we must use our power to undo everything that's been done to us. And there's no shyness, there's no bipartisanship, there's no, this and that and the other. No, I'm not just going to extend the olive branch. You come along with us or you stay shut up and in the corner.
Yeah.
Because we must fix things or America is gone.
Right.
This latest piece and the biggest piece of Western civilization just gets flushed if we don't actually make change.
Yep.
So we have to use the power.
We have to go back to the fork in the road and choose the opposite of what the early progressives did. We have to, we have to go back to before Woodrow Wilson and just start from there. Start over from there. Hack off everything else, every part of the government, every part of the New Deal, all that, just gone.
Yeah. 16th Amendment gone, 17th Amendment gone.
Reset button.
Let's do it. Reset button before the 20th century, really.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not like I want to go back to
before the Civil War. No, I'm just kidding.
But see, that's the thing. There are parts of that when you say that, we're talking about the system. We're talking about government. We're talking about the growth of government. I'm not talking about where we've come from. I did not grow up in an era of looking at segregation the lens of 2 generations ago, even, or 3. My generation grew up probably, I'd say, least racist of any so far in American history, just inherently on the color of skin.
What about mine? You think mine's more
racist?
We
were the first. We were the first. Since we'll say, I'll call millennials the first, maybe Gen Xers. But I look at it and go, we were so far removed from that societally. We've just, some of these things that are our past evils that we have overcome, we see the progress of that we've overcome. That's not any of the stuff that we're talking about. That's what the left will immediately hop on. You want to go back to the era before, with segregation? No, I'm talking about the federal government and the system of government. We got to go back and just destroy all of the bad decisions from the early 20th century on.
Right.
And no one's had the will to do that. Everyone has just gotten in office and then kind of glad-handed around a few things, but there's not been meaningful change, and we need meaningful change, and it's going to look not very limited government for a little while. Entree our discussion about the rise of Caesarism, but someone needs to do it.
Yeah.
Or the power of we the people is toast permanently.
Yep. Reset button.
Big reset button.
Big red reset button.
The big red reset button. All right.
Do that and everybody's fired. All the computers turn off.
That could be interesting.
All the paychecks stop running.
That's
what Haywood wants. That's what Caesarism looks like.
Very interesting. All right. I think that's about it.
Yep.
There you go. Go to unauthorizedcaucus.com. Sign up for all the goodies there so you make sure you get the notifications about this stuff when the podcast hits, the show notes, and all of the resources we used. Go to TREXinc.com. Thank you to our sponsor, T-Rex Inc., for awesome stuff. And use the promo code CAUCUS30 for a huge discount and to let them know we sent you. And then let us know if there's another topic you want to hit on. Now that we're post-council, we want to start digging in. Got a couple of interviews that we've had in mind for a while. We're going to start marching that direction in a very meaningful way, especially as we walk up to November 5th. And then January 6th, 2025. There are big things to talk about. And
that will be a fun day.
Fun day. Not sure about a fun day, but it is what it is. All right, everyone. We'll talk to you next week, Thursday at noon, for another
Caucus Time.